I am Claire, and this is my voice. In late June, I leave Denver with two office friends, Jenna and David, and we head north to my mountain house near Estes Park, America. I saved for years to buy that small cedar place for $240,000, and I spent another £3,000 fixing the porch and painting the living room. The road climbs and twists, and pines lean over us like kind guards. The air gets cool and thin, and I feel the kind of calm that comes when a door in the mind opens. We plan a week of slow mornings, cheap tacos, and a hike around the lake where the water looks like glass. I keep the house keys on a red cord that rests warm in my hand. We turn into the gravel drive and see a second car. I do not know. It sits close to the porch like it belongs there. The smile leaves my face. I tell myself it might be a neighbor who parked by mistake, but a tight worry takes hold in my chest. I carry a bag of food and step onto my own porch, where I once counted out $86 for new bulbs, one by one, because payday was far and I wanted light. The door is unlocked. The air inside smells like coffee and old smoke. My heart beats fast. My sister, Emily, stands by the window in my living room. Her husband, Mark, has his boots on my coffee table. A third person leans against the counter, the kind of smirk on his face that says he enjoys noise more than quiet. Emily says he is their friend Lucas. They look at me as if I am the surprise guest. My wall shows my photos, me with a red scarf on the deck, me and Jenna at a winter party, me signing the mortgage papers with a pen I brought from home, so I would not borrow luck. That wall is my proof line. I set the bag down and speak in a steady way. Emily, I say, why are you here? This is my house. She crosses her arms and gives me a sweet, hard smile. What do you want, parasite? I'll call the police. The word parasite hits me like a small stone to the ribs. It is not new. Last winter, I sent her $1,200 when she said she could not cover rent. In spring, she asked for £250 just for a week. I did it because family is a rope you keep trying to hold. But this is different. This is my name on a deed I keep in a folder in the glove box. This is my key. This is my place of breath. Go ahead if you can, I reply. I do not raise my voice. I do not move. I feel Jenna step up behind me. David sets our cooler down and waits. The room holds that summer heat that clings to curtains. Mark stands and laughs once, a sound with no humor in it. We're here for the summer, he says. Emily needs rest. You can come back in September. Lucas nods like he knows the law. He does not. I show the front door with my open hand, the way a host shows a seat. No, I say. You can pack and go. Now. Mark's face tightens. He steps forward, puts a hard arm to my shoulder, and shoves me and Jenna onto the porch. My heel catches on the frame. The door slams. The deadbolt slides, sharp as a click in the ear. Through the wood, I hear Lucas laugh again. I sit on the top step with the sun on my knees and let one tear fall. Then I wipe it away with the back of my hand and stand. I am not small. I am not weak. I look at the porch light I hung by myself with a manual I printed for $3 at a copy shop. I look at the trail of ants near the rail and the blue sky over the peak. I breathe in pine and dust. Jenna says, we'll make this right. David nods. An hour later, with the mountains watching like calm judges, I take out my phone and make a call. I make the call with my back against the porch post, the June sun warm on my shoulder. I call the county sheriff first, then my lawyer in Boulder. My voice is calm because I decide it will be calm. I give my full name, the address near Estes Park, America, and I say the simple truth. My sister and her people are in my house without my say. I add the facts that matter, my name on the deed, the mortgage I pay each month, $1,450 due on the 1st, and the repairs I covered last fall for $2,200 after the first snow. The dispatcher says an officer will come by. My lawyer, Ms. Hart, picks up on the second ring. She tells me to stay steady, to gather proof, and to keep my friends close. Jenna and David sit with me on the porch steps while we wait. The door behind us is shut, and I can feel the shape of Mark's shove still buzzing in my shoulder. I write a list on a notepad. Deed, mortgage letter, photo of the keys, utility bills in my name, the bank note that showed paid in full, the month I finally cleared the deck loan, pound 900 from a little card I used once and swore I would never use like that again. I keep most of these things in the glove box because I am a planner and because this house came from long days in Denver office lights and quiet nights with a calculator. We hear voices inside. Emily talking fast, Lucas laughing, Mark's heavy step. The sound makes the pines feel farther away. A patrol SUV turns into the drive, and the gravel crunch is the best note I've heard all week. Officer Reed steps out. He is quiet, solid, and a little sunburned. He listens to me without interrupting. He takes notes. He asks for documents, and I hand him the folder. I show him the photo of me the day I signed, the emails with the bank, the digital tax record on my phone. He nods and walks to the door with us. When he knocks, Emily opens it with a smile that looks pasted on. "Officer," she says, "we're family. My sister let us stay." She forgets things. Mark stands behind her with his arms crossed. Lucas leans on the counter again, like it's his place. Officer Reed asks them for proof. There is no lease, no text, no email, not a single message where I gave them permission to live here. Emily says, "We had a deal for $500, and she glances at me like I will make it true. I do not. Ms. Hart calls back, and I place the phone on speaker so the officer can hear. Her voice is clean and firm. She says, "Owner in possession, no consent, constructive trespass." She says, "My client has a right to quiet use." She reminds us that keeping the peace does not mean letting wrong stay in place. Officer Reed clears his throat and speaks in a voice that fills the room without shouting. "You can gather your personal things," he tells them. "You cannot stay." Mark tries to talk over him, but the officer repeats his words, slow and flat like a fence line. Lucas says he bought groceries, as if that buys a key. Emily glares at me so hard I feel 15 again. "You think you're better?" she spits. I shake my head. "I think I'm the owner," I say, "and I'm done paying to be blamed." The room goes still enough that I can hear wind in the aspen leaves. They move like a small storm, drawers opening, bags zipping, a mug breaking on the kitchen tile. Mark mutters about lawyers and what a waste, as if my work was a trick. Emily passes the photo wall and turns every frame face down, one after the other, a quiet little rage that feels like a scrape on skin. Lucas pockets a spoon and then sees Officer Reed watching him and puts it back, red in the face. In less than an hour, they carry 3 bags to the porch. Mark pauses by me and leans close, like he wants me to step back. I do not. "This isn't over," he says. "It is for today," I answer. He snorts, and they walk to their car. The engine coughs, the tires kick gravel, and then they are gone down the road toward the highway and the lights of the city. The house breathes out. I feel it. The air inside is stale with the smell of burnt coffee and old smoke, so I open every window. Officer Reed gives me a case number and a card. He tells me to change the locks, to keep records, to call if there is more trouble. I thank him and tuck the card into my wallet next to a folded list of home funds I keep. $800 for winter wood, $300 for paint, 200 pounds for a small trip one day, maybe to a quiet stone town in Europe when the time is right. Ms. Hart tells me on the phone, "Good work, Claire. You held the line." I say I will mail her a check for her time in the morning, and I mean it. When the officer leaves, Jenna hugs me. David finds the broom. We sweep up the broken mug and set the frames upright again. The room looks back at me with steady eyes. I draw a line in my heart and make it real. This house is mine, and my voice will guard it. After the deputy left and the last echo of their car was gone, the house felt taller, as if it could stand up straight again. Jenna brewed fresh coffee and opened the back door so the mountain air could sweep out the stale smell. David took the trash to the bin and checked the shed. I walked the rooms with a slow step, touching the chair I bought for $60 at a thrift shop in Denver, the lamp I wire myself, the pantry where I kept beans and pasta for cheap, calm meals. I found small changes everywhere, my blankets folded wrong, my hiking pack moved, a jar of coins spilled and gathered again. None of it was big, but all of it felt like a thumb pressed on my chest. I sat at the table and wrote numbers to quiet my mind. $1,450 for the mortgage, $120 for the internet, $48 for propane last month, £200 saved for future train ride in Europe when the time was right. Numbers do not judge. They simply tell you what is. My phone buzzed. A new unknown number lit the screen. I let it ring once more, then I picked up. It was Mark. His voice carried that loose laugh he used when he wanted to sound in charge. He said they only needed the place for a few weeks, that I had overreacted, and that the officer didn't understand family. I told him the officer understood just fine. I said, "Do not come back." He said Emily was upset and that I should pay them for the trouble of moving out so fast. $300, he suggested, like he was being kind. I stared at the table edge and felt the steadiness rise in me like water in a clear glass. "No," I said. "You owe me for the lock I will change and for the food you used. If you send me $200 by Friday, I will let the matter rest. If not, I will file a report and seek an order. Those are the only terms." He went quiet, then muttered a curse and hung up. Jenna reached over and squeezed my hand. "You were calm," she said. "You were exact." It felt good to hear that. I called Ms. Hart to record the call in a short note. I also called a locksmith in Estes Park and set an appointment for the next day at 9. The quote was clear: $185 for 2 new deadbolts and fresh keys. I could feel the costs settle into my ledger like a stone, heavy but needed. David wrote a big sign on a sheet of cardboard and taped it inside the front window. No entry. Owner on site. We did not need the sign, but the words helped my heart. At dusk, the sky turned a soft gold. We ate simple food on the deck: eggs, toast, and a small salad for $6 in all. The wind moved through the pines, smooth and cool. I told Jenna and David stories about the months I worked late in downtown Denver to save for the down payment, about counting coins to reach $17 for a can of paint, about how the bank letter that said "approved" felt like a gate swinging open. I also told them a story I had not said out loud before. When I was a child, Emily would take my coat and say it looked better on her, and I would walk home cold because I did not want to argue. I said, "I am not that girl anymore." Saying it made it more true. When night came, I checked every window latch and set my phone to loud. I slept in the living room with a blanket and my hiking pole by the couch, not out of fear, but as a promise to myself to stand my ground. At 2 in the morning, a car drove by slow, then sped up, tires buzzing on the road. My chest tightened and then eased. I looked out at the porch light I had hung for $19, saw the small moths dance in the glow, and lay back down. Morning brought a clean blue sky. The locksmith arrived on time, a quiet man named Victor. He liked the view and worked fast. I paid him $185 plus a $20 tip because good work deserves it. I kept 1 key, gave 1 to Jenna for the week, and put the 3rd in a small tin I hid behind a book on the shelf. I also printed a short letter for Emily, clear and simple, with the terms I had said on the phone. $200 due by Friday, no entry without my say, and any threat would go straight to the law. I mailed it from the post office in town and kept the receipt in my folder. Back at the house, we set out for a short hike. The trail smelled like sun on stone and cold water. I walked in front. The path climbed, and so did my breath. I thought about America, how wide it is, and how a woman can draw a line and keep it. I thought about Europe too, a summer day I will take for myself 1 year, when I have the time and the spare £200 to wander a quiet street by the sea. But for now, this mountain was enough. I had set my terms. I had used my voice. And step by step, I felt the weight slide off my shoulders and fall behind me on the trail. The day after the locks were changed, the house felt like it could finally breathe. Morning light moved across the floorboards in slow bands, and I followed it with my coffee like I was tracing the path of a quiet river. Jenna and David slept in. I sat at the table and made a list of small repairs I wanted to do before we drove back to Denver, America. Sand the porch rail, oil the door hinges, and replace the cracked switch plate that had bothered me for a year. I budgeted the work the way I budget everything. $22 for sandpaper and oil, $6 for the plate, and $14 for extra screws and anchors. Numbers are simple company. They keep me honest. They also keep the past from borrowing from my future. By mid-morning, my phone buzzed with a message from Emily. The words were short and sharp. She said I had shamed the family, that Mark only pushed because I wouldn't listen, and that Lucas meant no harm. Then came the ask I knew would come. She wanted me to send them $300 so they could get by. I took a breath, then another. I wrote back exactly what I had mailed. $200 due to me by Friday for food and lot costs, no entry, and any threat goes to the law. A minute later, Mark texted from his own number, calling me proud and cold, saying he'd talk to someone who knows the rules. I forwarded the messages to Ms. Hart. She replied with a single line, "You're doing well. Hold your terms." I put the phone face down and went to find the screwdriver. We worked in companionable silence. David steadied the porch rail while I sanded, and Jenna set a timer so we'd break for water. The mountain breeze smelled like sun-warmed sap and clean dirt. A jay hopped along the rail, bold and curious, as if to say, "This place is watched." After lunch, leftover eggs and a salad that cost us maybe $5 total, we drove into town for groceries and a stack of mail. At the post office, the clerk handed me a small envelope with my name written in Emily's quick hand. Inside was $120 cash and a note that said, "This is all we can do." I stood there for a long second, heat in my chest, not anger, not relief, just the old ache of a rope that has burned your palms more than once. I walked to the counter, bought a money order for $120 so I could record it, and slipped the receipt into my folder. $80 still due. I wrote at the top of the page. A clear ledger is a calm mind. That evening we grilled on the deck. Cheap chicken, corn, and onions, maybe $14 all in. The sky turned the color of peaches, and the peaks held the light like slow-burning coals. We told easy stories, the kind that grow softer at the edges when the day has been kind. I spoke about the first time I saw the listing for this house, how the photo showed a deck with a crooked plank, and I felt, for reasons I couldn't name, that it was waiting for me. I spoke about a promise I made to myself to save £500 for a small trip one day, a train across a quiet piece of Europe, just to prove to myself that work can make room for wonder. Jenna raised her glass.
"To room for wonder," she said.
We clinked, and the sound was small and bright. I slept hard that night, a deep, blank sleep. In the morning, a transfer pinged my phone, $80 from Emily's account with a note that only said done. No apology, no please, or thank you. That was fine. The ledger closed, $200 received. I sent a final message, short, steady, and lawful, confirming receipt and restating the boundary. Then I turned the alerts off for both numbers and deleted their names from the favorites list they had never earned. I kept Ms. Hart's card in my wallet and Officer Reed's case number in my glove box. I also kept something else I had not had in a long time, a soft space inside my chest where fear had lived. It was empty now, and the emptiness felt like room. On our last day, I walked the rooms alone, palm on wood, eyes on the little marks that make a life. Paint flecks near the baseboard, a faint ring on the table where a cheap mug once sat, a scratch on the door from the day I moved the couch by myself. The house did not ask me to be perfect. It only asked me to show up, to pay what I promised, and to speak when speaking mattered. America is wide. People change or they do not. I cannot make Emily keep faith. I can keep mine. I locked the door, slid the new key onto its red cord, and tucked it warm into my pocket. As we drove toward Denver, I watched the peaks fall back and the plains open, and I felt the quiet courage of a woman who held the line and kept her home. When I am ready, I will plan that 500-pound train ride. But today, my road ran here, and that was enough.